there's nothing I can do but move forward. But it is a lot different than I expected, and it just means that we've had to be really creative. In some ways doubling down on our mission, and in other ways pivoting and focusing on some new things and figuring out how are we going to future-proof when you never know what's going to happen in cannabis.
We're always getting thrown curveballs.
Yeah.
From the state, from the CCC. There's a bunch of bills going out to the House and Senate that have been published, and there's testimonials and all this other stuff, or testimony for those bills. So there's a lot of moving parts. But so getting back into actually stepping back again, were you a consumer before? Is that why you were like, hey, I think I could do this better? I'm also a fan of the plant. You got in it because you would love the plant and you saw like a better way of path forward?
I was a casual consumer. It wasn't a big part of my life, and I didn't really know that much about all the different product types of cannabis. For me, it was more about I love building projects. I love building teams. It was just a really exciting, totally different thing for me. And at that time when I had just had a baby, Hampshire College was struggling financially. I felt like I was in a rut. I had been working toward being at Hampshire and working toward tenure really my entire academic life. And then I got tenure, and then I think 9 days later, Hampshire announced that they weren't going to take a fall class of students. We were just going to teach out the students that we had and close. And so they ended up surviving and staying open, but everyone kind of had this panic moment of what else would I do? And at the time, some friends of mine from California who I knew from Burning Man contacted me and said that they wanted to build a testing lab in Western Mass. Do I know any scientists looking for a job in Western Mass, which is, really a really hard fulfillment. And I said, I don't know much about it, but maybe me. And so that's when I started really researching. And that group didn't work out. But over the next year of they planted the idea in my head. And then I researched for the next year. And then I saw what the other labs were doing. I saw the landscape. I really made a roadmap of how I'm going to build this. And then I jumped in both feet. My husband was very supportive. We rented a big warehouse in Westfield, and then I just did it. I was just excited about it. And so I had a solid appreciation for the plant ahead of time, as well as psychedelics. For me, that it's all kind of in the same category in terms of how I was using it previously. But it was really more about, I was excited about this new industry in Massachusetts, and I was excited about the community coming together around something that they were really passionate about, and I felt like I could provide a really good support for the industry.
Yeah, and I think that's, so you went in full, you just went 2 feet in, you were like, this is it.
Yeah.
And nothing's going to stop you then. You're just like, nothing's going to stop me. I'm just going to do this.
That's right.
And thinking back, I guess, to when you launched those 8 labs, how many are still in existence?
Of those 8, 1, 2, I think 2 have closed, and then a few more opened after that, and 3 more opened after and then closed.
So how many, at its peak, how many testing labs were there? At its
peak, there were 15 or 16,
wow.
and now there are 10.
There are 10, so 5 have closed since.
Yeah.
And there can only be a few. I mean, winners, true winners in any industry, really, right? And so this is the support system. This is vital for the cannabis industry to survive and thrive in a certain extent. Yeah. So taking your learnings, and you're so buttoned up. Burning Man? What's going on? You're just hanging out in Burning Man and talking to some cannabis people. And
I did my PhD in California, in Los Angeles, and so I had the very nerdy campus of Caltech surrounded by the very artsy world of Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And it turns out scientists really know how to party. They were the most fun ones to hang out with. And we had a science-themed camp at Burning Man where we set up microscopes and we had talks that people would give about their research and teaching the community about science.
Wow, that's fun.
So it was a very nerdy Burning Man camp.
Everybody has different. I've heard so many various experiences with Burning Man. I remember I had hired this Android developer back in 2012 or something like that, 2013, and He was like, I'm going to Burning Man. I'm like, cool. He came back and he literally was not the same person. And he was like, I am going on a different journey now.
Yeah.
And he just quit. And I'm like, okay.
Same thing happened to my husband.
Wow.
He went to Burning Man. He came back a totally different person. Quit his job, moved across the country. Totally different psyche.
Were you together at that time?
We were, yeah.
Interesting.
It was a very stark difference between the two.